Hey guys, Joe Lee here, back for another video. I was super encouraged by seeing all your response, all your comments. You guys are so encouraging, and I appreciate that. As I was just going through some of the comments, it's not much, but there were a couple that asked, how I did it or how I came to be where I am now in 3 years, or has it been 4? No, it's been 3 years now. So I just wanted to explain a little story and just share a little story of how I got here, how it just everything wasn't a coincidence or just pure luck. Obviously, blessings and open and opportunities are involved, but yeah, I just wanted to explain what exactly happened step by step so that you guys know that I didn't leave med school just off of the whim because I didn't like it anymore or anything like that, and really share why I chose business over medicine. And even this channel I started as a journey to get out of my student loans. Obviously it's gonna be focused around business because I am in business, and this is where my expertise are now for the past 3 years, and this is what I have been living and breathing. So obviously a lot of stuff in my channel will be focused or revolve around business, but this channel was created to show my journey to get out of my student loans, especially to encourage anyone else that are in student loans and that are trying to get out of it. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, but if you want to listen, if not, whatever. I appreciate you just checking the channel out just to begin with. So yeah, I went to college. I actually even went to high school for sciences. I studied sciences all my life. I went to college, studied biochemistry and molecular biology. That's what I majored in. And then I took a year off after graduating college to teach at like a tutoring program or tutoring school or after school program. And I taught sciences, I taught math. Majority I taught sciences, all the sciences. Chemistry, biology, physics, orgo, all of that. From there, my goal was always to get to med school. But during tutoring, I made a lot of money. I was getting paid anywhere from $30 to $80 an hour per student, and for the organization I worked for, well, that's for private tutoring, and for the organization I worked for, I was getting paid about $30 an hour with a lot of bonuses, depending on report cards and stuff. But my students just, started to do well. And it's nothing I did as a teacher, but they just started to do well. When that happened, the news or the word spread, and what happened was I'm based in Jersey, but people were coming from New York to tutor with me, and I was getting booked from 3 p.m., so when school ends, all the way to about 10 p.m., sometimes midnight, every single day, Monday through Friday. Saturday, I'd be tutoring all day, and then Sunday, I would tutor for maybe 4 or 5 hours too. So what ended up happening was I ended up making a lot of money, started saving up a lot. I never asked the students how much they got charged or anything, but a couple students just blurted it out to me, and I was getting paid about $30 an hour, and then I heard that the company I worked for was charging about $100 to $120 an hour for tutoring with me. And I wasn't mad about it or anything, because I thought, I took a step back and I thought if I owned my own company and like a tutoring company and after school program, I would probably do the same thing in order to make myself a salary, as well as pay for the building and all the rent and all the costs involved. So I thought, wow, my boss is making a crap ton of money just off of me, and there were multiple teachers too. So I started saving up, to open up my own after school like program or tutoring center. And I was saving up, but while I was saving up, I got accepted into medical school, and that was always my dream. So I decided to go, and luckily I had money saved up to start going to med school to pay off all the initial expenses and the move. So I went to medical school. I went for 2.5, 3 years. Pretty much I finished the education portion, and I was about to take my board exam and enter my rotations, my hospital rotations. And during that time, my brother came over for vacation, and we went on a hike towards this volcanic mountain. And at the top of this volcanic mountain, there was this mud clay. It had like that sulfur smell, and it was so sought after. People were coming from all over the place to get this mud. And my brother, after, I mean, we enjoyed our vacation, but afterwards, my brother went home and he had this idea, and he called me up saying, I think we could create this mud, especially because my parents at the time were investing into like a resort where we were pumping up like mineral water that had the sulfur smell. So that smell was very familiar to us. And what my brother tried to do was recreate the mud that we experienced. And I remember just being on Skype instead of studying, and he'd be in the kitchen and he'd be trying to mix up batches of different types of mud to try to create the perfect mud. Over a couple months, we did this, and we finally landed on a product that we thought we might like. But I realized I couldn't do medical school and study as well as run a business and start a company. So I had to make a decision. And that decision came down to a couple of factors. It came down to what I liked most, where my heart was, and where I thought I belonged, without being biased at the time because I had exams. It's not like I liked med school less. Med school was hard, but it came down to, and this might sound superficial or anything like that, but it came down to, do I love do money more or humans more? And I'm not saying I care less about humans or anything like that. Don't take it the wrong way. I got into med school in order to heal, and that's what I liked, and that's what I wanted to do for my whole life. But I realized what I couldn't live with, or what I knew I would regret, was if I lived a linear life. And this is what I mean. When I was tutoring, I made a lot of money. If I worked 1 hour, I got paid anywhere from 30 to 80. And that's a lot of money. And I was working nearly a full-time job making that kind of money. But it was still linear, where it's you work for a certain amount of time and you get paid a certain amount. And I don't know why, but I thought when I went to med school, that would be better. And on top of that, I would be able to heal and, really help people out while, making the money that I thought I could make. But I realized even as a doctor, or if I went into medicine, yes, I would be getting a much higher salary than maybe the average or the norm. But I realized there's still a cap where I would have to work a certain amount of time and I would get paid a certain amount. And that idea was so caging to me. To me, what's freeing is, even right now, if I have to work for, the next 5 years at 50 cents an hour, if there is a chance that in the future, a minute of my time could be worth 100, or a minute of my time could be worth $1,000, that exponential factor, that's what excites me. And if I'm going to live one life, I realized I wanted to take that journey, even if it was hard, even if it was risky, because business, there's no mercy in business, right? There's no pity or anything like that. You fail, but if you succeed, you succeed. And something about that really excited me, and something about that was what drew me to the idea of business. And that's with a lot of thought, a lot of thinking, a lot of just seeking out advice from my peers, my mentors, and with a lot of prayer, I finally just decided to make the move. I decided to jump, take a leap of faith, and start business. So I left medical school. So essentially, I'm a dropout, right? Because I left, and I had no problem with that. It's not like I was doing poorly on it or anything, but I decided to jump ship, and I came to business. But once I went into business, I realized I was lacking in so many skills because I grew up learning sciences and nothing else, and business was so new to me. So my brother saved up for a year. He saved up about $30,000, and then I used about $30,000 of my loan money, and we pulled around $60,000 together, and we decided to start a company with a lot of research and development. And then after buying all the inventory that we needed for launch, we had no more money. We just ran out of cash for advertising. And I didn't know at the time how competitive the cosmetic industry was in terms of advertising, how expensive advertising was. So we had to find another way to survive. So what happened was my brother, watching people like Gary Vee, Maximus Black, and a bunch of other people, he discovered yard sailing. So my brother and I went yard sailing a couple times. We went to find, anything from like video games and Nintendos to just random things, from printers to phones, whatever it was. We would buy it at anywhere from $1 to $5 a piece, and we would flip it on eBay for $20 to $50, depending on what it was. So as we started doing that, we started making money, and we started at least getting enough allowance for us to feed ourselves, and just at least live. And I was fortunate. I lived with my parents, and they were taking care of all the rent and all of that for me. And what happened was, while doing that, I discovered something called liquidations. And what liquidations are is you bid on like a pallet or something. So if there's a crushed box that falls off the shelf of Walmart, or it's returned at Walmart, but the product's new, Walmart can't sell it anymore because the box is damaged or because the box is opened. So what they do is they pull all of these things together, and then they make a giant pallet and they just bid it off. And this isn't just Walmart. This is everybody does it. Amazon does this, any big company does this. So what we would do is we would bid on pallets, and when it came and when we won, we would inspect each one, compare prices, and we would post it up on eBay after taking a picture. And this started making us even more money. But what this ended up doing was, it ended up taking up so much space in our house. Eventually, we had so many items that we put up for sales that our entire basement was filled, our living room was filled, my entire room was filled, and it was getting to a point where my parents couldn't even watch TV because there was too many items between the couch and the TV. Eventually, my mom was like, "You guys need to move out or go somewhere." So we started shopping for a warehouse, and we landed on this warehouse where we're here right now. And while this was good and we were making money, we've never paid rent before, or gotten something like this before, and we didn't know the expenses that were involved in this. So we realized liquidations was good, but the fact that every item we had to inspect, we had to take a picture, research the price, write out the description, and post it up for sale just for one item, and we had to do that for every single item. It wasn't going to grow at a rate where we wanted, versus if you sold a brand new item, what would happen is you would take the picture once, you would write the description once, and then you would just have a lot of quantity, and if you ran out, you could just get more quantity, and the work is done, one and done, rather than you having to do it for every single item. We knew that's where we had to get to, but we didn't know how to get there. But at the speed my brother and I were going at, it wasn't good enough to maintain the warehouse costs and pay ourselves to live. Essentially, we'd be going even further negative. So we had to make a move and just pull a trigger, because we came down to about $6,000, and at that time my rent and all the bills was about $2,000. So we had about $4,000, and we had to make a move within a month. So we heard that Amazon had 10 times the traffic of eBay at that time. So we're like, we have to be on Amazon somehow. And we started doing a lot of research, and we heard that people were flipping stuff by scanning the barcodes at retail locations to see if you could sell it at a higher price on Amazon. So we went to, the first time we went to Kmart. It was a complete fail. We didn't find anything. We didn't know what we were doing. We went to Toys R Us. It was a complete fail. And then we went to Walmart. It was a complete fail. So I think we failed about 4 times total without buying a single item, because nothing was making money. And then we went to Target, and there were these Hot Wheels on sale for 50 cents each. So we bought $200 worth of Hot Wheels. Going like, whoa, you could flip it on Amazon. But at that time, we didn't know anything about ranking or anything like that, where ranking shows how quickly an item sells. So essentially, I bought $200 worth of Hot Wheels that sells less than one item a year. So we sent it into Amazon, and we were like excited to get a sale. Nothing. We didn't get anything. But at that time we were desperate and we needed to get some stuff, so we kept trying. And then when we went to Toys R Us, we went to Walmart again, and eventually one run in Toys R Us, my brother and I sat down before going like, you know what? I don't care how long it takes. Let's scan every single item in Toys R Us, and let's scan every single item in Walmart and try to see if there is a flip. And Toys R Us was a big break for us, where we found items at Toys R Us where it was a very good flip, and we bought it all out. And then we went to the next Toys R Us, and the next Toys R Us, and then the next, and we bought all the items that made money, and we started flipping that way. And things started getting a lot easier because I didn't have to take a picture or any of that, because it was brand new. We just could send it into Amazon and flip it. And that's how we started growing a little by little by little. And eventually we were going to all the Toys R Us's so often that there was 13 in my area. I know they're gone now, but there was about 13 in our area. We mapped it out, and every Tuesday and Thursday we would go shopping. And it got to a point where managers knew us because we were dropping a couple thousand every single time we went. The managers knew us. The managers would hook us up. It was really awesome. And then we discovered something called credit cards and gift cards. So discounted gift cards. So we would buy discounted gift cards on different sites, and then we would use that to save more money. Pretty much trying to make it as efficient as possible. And that's how we started growing. Little by little, we grew like that. And then we started getting enough money to try and import. So we decided to try importing from China one item. That was a complete fail because we called Amazon to make sure everything was okay, and we got the okay. They said all you need is an invoice to list in like the beauty category or the personal care category. And we presented them the invoice when the items came, and they said, oh no, it has to be a US invoice. It can't be a Chinese invoice. So essentially we invested a couple $1,000s into a product, and we weren't even allowed to sell it. That was our stump number one. And what happened was, all right, we just needed to keep flipping, but we were getting enough cash rolling at this point where even our landlord saw us growing, and he wanted us to grow faster so that we could take more and more of this warehouse, so that obviously he would get more for rent, and he wanted to help us out. So that's the first time we ever received an investment, and he gave us a $40,000 investment in increments of 10,000s, and that really helped us out jump to, let's say, the next tier. Doesn't mean we weren't going to get there, but it just helped us get there a little faster. And then our friends, we're all young, so even our friends don't have too much money, but they all have full-time jobs and they have really good credit. And when they saw what we were doing was making really good money, a couple of my friends were willing to open up a very large credit card and give it to us, and so that we could use it. Make us an authorized user so that we would use it, and when we pay back the card within the month or within 2 months, so that we don't pay too much interest on it, we would give them a certain percentage of interest. And as long as we knew we were going to make profit above that, that was another big leap in cash flow. So that's how we started jumping tiers. And then it came to a point where we were shopping at Toys R Us and Walmart and all these places, and we were like, why don't we just contact those companies directly that are always on the back of every single product that we sell? So we made a list of all the manufacturers, and we just went down the list, Googled each one, and called them up. A lot of them, we couldn't meet their requirement because their minimum order was, like for certain companies was like $1 million, and there's no way we could do that. But then we found smaller companies that were willing to work with us. And because we had a warehouse, they were willing to accept us as a distributor, which was awesome. So what happened was, because we were accepted as a distributor, the manufacturers would give everything to us at wholesale pricing. So once we got wholesale pricing of certain items, we would be able to flip it on Amazon because we knew we were getting it cheaper than anyone else would be getting at a retail store. So that's how it really started, and now we grew that business to a point where we're doing both wholesale, and we've tried importing again with success. And as our account grew, Amazon ungated us from all these different categories where we didn't even have to present an invoice because we had a very good history on Amazon. They started letting us sell in different categories as well, which allowed us to really expand our market. And that's how we really started, and that's how we grew. And now I could import, and I don't need to worry about presenting an invoice or anything like that because I know I'm allowed to sell it. We got a whole booth going just to take photos of new products so that we could list it ourselves and really be the only seller on certain items. And we grew that way, and that's how we came to this part here. I think it was last year at this time we hit $1 million in sales in terms of just lifetime. Obviously, it's over, at that time it was over 2.5 years or something like that. But now we're headed for hopefully 2.5 mil this year in terms of revenue. In terms of profit, I shared in my last video. I don't know the exact numbers. We employed 2 full-timers, including my mom, who's working for me now. So with that going out, and then with the 3 part-time employees that we hired for the summer, and we expanded our warehouse. So there's a bunch of costs that are going out, but all the profit we're making, essentially we're investing back into the business so that we can grow. I'm still not essentially taking a pay other than just my very basic living expenses. And that's how we really started off. We're here now, and that's my journey so far. It wasn't a just I hate med school, I'm just gonna leave. It wasn't that. It was a very calculated thing, and I thought about it, and we planned it out, thinking, hey, is this possible, and can we do this? And we thought yes, and obviously we knew there was a lot to learn, which obviously there was a lot to learn, and there was a lot of obstacles, and I know there's probably going to be even more obstacles on the way, but that's how we grew to this point in 3 years to get to a point where we could have a warehouse, we could employ people, and really invest into this business. And what's awesome is now we are getting enough cash flow going that we could start pouring money back into the cosmetic business that I originally started. And I haven't given up on it. That business was what made me leave med school, because I believed in that business. But now that I have a little bit of cash, could put it back in. A lot of people ask, why don't you raise money, go to VCs and stuff like that. Now I can. At that time, I didn't know what I was doing. I had to learn the very basics. I didn't even know business terminology. I didn't even know what VC meant at that time. The best I knew was Shark Tank and whatever I saw from Shark Tank. And now that I know there's a world much bigger than that, I know how to position myself and set myself up. And I know I'd get a much better deal if I could get revenue running for even my cosmetic business with the cash that I could invest into it. And then from there, raise a much greater amount if I decide to go the investment route. It's been a long journey learning all of this, and there's no school for it. You could go to school for business. I know they're not going to teach you all these little things because if the teachers knew how to do all of this, they would have done that rather than teaching. That's just straight up truth. If business school teachers knew how to make millions of dollars, why would they be teaching? Unless they're retired or they have nothing better to do because they're so, loaded. So this is an exciting world where it's like one wrong move could destroy you completely, but also one right move could really just boost you to a point where nobody could catch up to you. But the thing about business is you just got to be persistent, and you have to just keep going at it without giving up. And that's what I've learned, and that's the mentality I'm going even to kill my student loans. Obviously, a lot of people ask if I've started paying it off, and I tell them no, and for the very specific reason that with the money I could pay the loan off with, I could flip it for a much higher amount than it's costing me to keep that loan at the interest I'm paying. That's where I'm at. And yeah, I think that's pretty much where I am now. If there's any questions, I would love to answer them. You could just always ask them in the comments. We had a little hiccup where I wasn't getting notifications of any of the comments, and I just figured out how to do it, and figured out why it was like that. So yeah, I'll try to be active on that. But again, this is to just share my journey. If this YouTube thing becomes something, that's awesome. But my focus is here. But I appreciate all your encouragements, and if we could share stories and we could truly encourage each other, that's something I am interested in, and that's something that I want to be part of. And if I could encourage you to really just kill your student loans, because loans literally makes you a slave. You feel like a slave, you feel burdened, and it's something we should be very diligent about trying to get out of. But don't hate it. You accepted these loans to get the education you wanted. I don't have any regrets. I got a medical education because of the loans that the government was willing to give me, and if not, I wouldn't have been able to go to medical school to begin with. So I don't take it with hatred or anything like that. It's just, this is the position I'm in, this is the life decisions I've made, and this is how I'm going to climb out of this debt that I'm in. And I know it's probably more than most people, because I think last time I checked we were just over $200,000 in debt. But at the rate I'm going, I'm encouraged. I know I could kill this, and I know I could overcome this and really just set myself up for success. So if a normal guy like me could do it, I really think just as long as you're diligent, you could do it too. And if you're not in that, but you're just in the journey to see how I do in terms of business or any of that, I appreciate that too. I'll do my best to share what I can. Hopefully when I go over my finances and all of that, I'll figure out how to do all the screen capture or not. If not, I'll just have like a whiteboard and then I'll just write it all out. Just very simple. I'm not too worried about that. As long as I get my point across, that's what really matters to me. So I know this was a longer video. I really appreciate you watching through it. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. That was my story so far. And hopefully that catches you up to where I've been and what I've been. If I forgot something, please ask, and I'll address it in the next video, or I'll just reply to you in the comment. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you with the next upload and the next update. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.